Hey guys, so you guys wanted me to make a quick tutorial on how to use 3ds Max. So today I'll just show you how to use it, I guess. So first of all, there's the main menu that you'll use most of the time, which is the Create menu, where you can choose to create geometry, shapes, lights, cameras, helpers, space warps, or system. To be honest, I've never really used helpers, space warps, or systems, so I don't really know what they do. But you'll often be using either geometry, shapes, lights, or camera, depending on what you want to do. So for the basic, I'll just create a box, and let's make it 50 by 50 by 50 by 50. And let's say we wanted to have five segments on each side. And now we go to the other menu that we'll often use, which is the modifier menu. Just select your box, and now you can get the drop menu here with all the modifiers. You can do a lot of things there, such as, let's see, edit poly, which is the one that I'm using most of the time. What the fuck? So on that menu you can move vertex, edges, borders, polygons, and the whole element. So we'll start with the polygons, or the faces. You can see here that each sides are made of 5 by 5 polygons, and you can pretty much just select all the ones you want, either by clicking or dragging, such as this. When you're clicking and dragging, you select pretty much the faces regardless of whether you can see them or not. But if you only click, you can just choose one. And if you want to choose more than one at a time, you have to click Control. If you don't click Control, then you'll just select one at a time, and that's kind of a pain. If you want to select like more than one, like I just did, you can use the Shift key. So like here to here, it'll just select the whole ring. From here to there doesn't work, so you have to be on the same X or Y or Z axis to select it. So you can select pretty much all the faces like that. And you can the way to move the camera is by clicking on your scroll wheel and with Alt, so you can move the camera like that. And by clicking only the scroll wheel, you can move the camera like that. So it's pretty basic. You can select thing by left clicking, and you can open a menu to like collapse, cut, and all that good stuff there. So now let's get to the shape modifier, the shape create tool, which is pretty interesting. You see you have lines, circle, arc, hexagon, text, egg, rectangle, ellipse, donuts, stars, helix, and selections. For the sake of this tutorial, we'll use the line, since it's the most basic one. And for the splines tool, I'll recommend using the orthographic view and go to the top view. That way you can easily see exactly where you are on the grid. So let's say I want to do, I don't know, a rectangle. I'll just click each time I want to create it, and then click on the first one to close it. And now you have one. It will just give you a prompt to close it and just accept it. Now if you wanted to make it a 3D object, because now it's just a spline, so it's just lines, what you have to do is go to modify, modifier list, and go to extrude. Now you want to choose the amount, so the height, we'll do 50, and let's say we want 5 segments on the height uh, part. Now we'll go to edit poly, and if you want to edit anything, you can do it by either selecting polygons where you can select it and then either move it or rotate it, but for polygons, I mean vertex, it's pretty useless to uh, rotate it. It'll just do that, so nothing. Same goes for resizing, well, scaling, I guess. So you should only use really the move tool with vertex. So you can move each vertical vertex anywhere you want it to. And if you want to move it to a certain place in the world, you can just um, well, just enter the coordinate there, and it'll move it to where you put it. So now, as you can see, the vertex is not at the same place, but sometimes if yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't fucking know. And you can go back in time with Control and Z, and if you want to do the opposite, you can use Control Y. Now to the edges, select one edge. If you want to see the edges, I'd recommend clicking on realistic and clicking on edged face. So now you can see the edges, so you can easily click on them. And now you can move it. And same goes for the vertex. You can't really rotate them that much, but it really depends on which axis you want to change. And you can get some pretty interesting results by doing that. Now to the face, I'll just not use the border because I barely use it anyway, and it's pretty much just the same as edges, but not as useful. Like, you can't really choose anything unless it's a perfect edge, or maybe I'm just not really familiar with that one because I've never really used it in 3 years, so that should tell you something. Now you can click on the polygon, and now I want to show you something interesting. You can use extrude, which will, well, extrude it outside of the usual uh, form. So now, as you can see, I created new faces by extruding it from the old face, which was that one. Um, so that's really useful. You can also use beveled, which is also pretty useful. It's pretty much just extrude, but with more freedom. There's also outline, which is basically just beveled, but with just the outline part of it, I guess. And insert, which basically lets you create a polygon inside of the face that you selected, which is also pretty useful. Um, Also, another useful thing is soft selection, you can pretty much edit the setting like fall off. As you can see here, there's color, and it's basically telling you which faces will be affected by this. And let's say you want to move this face now. As you can see, the other faces move with it too, but not as much, so you can get a pretty smooth effect when moving only one face, which can be really useful sometimes, especially when you're trying to model something like a human or animals or anything that has smooth edges. So just select it if you want to do that. And there's a lot of other modifier here that you can use, so just try all of them and see what they do. And finally, there's the this menu here where you can change the properties. So let's go to the realistic without edged face. As you can see here, the shadow is smooth because we told the software to make all of those edges together count as like a smooth surface. Let's say we select those faces and change the property to hard. We only want to select to change the selected ones, so we'll just click on hard selected. And now, as you can see, the shadows are different for each faces, so you can also get some interesting results. It really just depends on what you want to do with it. You can also have other interesting things such as tessellate or mesh smooth. So mesh smooth, you can change the settings. Right now, it basically just makes 4 faces from each faces that you use. And right now, it's using the smoothing group. It wasn't using, I mean, now it uses it. So, as you can see now, only the ones that were smooth are still smooth, and the one that we made hard is no longer hard, but it still has more faces in it, but it's more detailed. So you can also change the smoothness level from 1 to 0. It only varies from 0 to 0.5 to 1, so you can do some pretty interesting stuff with it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Tessellate is pretty much the same thing, but without actually changing the geometry. It only adds faces. Now if we were to go click on it, as you can see, it made more faces but in a polygon state instead of square, which can sometimes be useful, other time it can be a pain in the ass to work with. It really depends on what you want to do with it. You can also get some other interesting results, like extrude on spline. Like, let's say you want to extrude something from a spline, like, let's say this. You want to go select the face and click on extrude on spline, and now click on the spline that you want to use, and now we'll extrude it using the shape of the spline. You can change the setting if you want more details or less details. If you want it to be honest, I'm not sure what this do. Well, does that. So yeah, the spline tune is really a powerful tool to use. Um, so yeah, there's a lot of things on this menu too. And now the final part that's really useful for newcomers is the align snap toggle. So now, right now, you see when you try to rotate something, it it only changes by 5 degrees each time you move the mouse, which is better if you want to be more precise. But if you don't want it to be that way, you can just deselect it. And now, as you can see, it moves freely without snapping or anything. So that's also something uh, that you might want to use. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. If you guys have any more questions, just let me know, and I'll be glad to help you out. Thanks.